Hello, welcome to the channel, where exciting and inspiring stories come to life. Today, I'm going to tell a story that begins with a simple encounter and transforms into a journey full of mysteries, revelations, and family ties. Imagine a millionaire who accidentally discovers that a young Uber driver might be the key to unraveling a secret kept for decades. A secret that will change their lives forever. As you dive into this incredible story, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to receive more content like this, stories that move and inspire. And, of course, let us know in the comments which city you are watching from, because we want to get to know you and your connections to these stories. Are you ready? Let's embark on this journey that will stir your emotions and bring powerful reflections. In the mansion of Edson Parker, in Charleston, South Carolina, a melancholic silence hung in the air. The walls of the grand house seemed to absorb the memories of a love that transcended life. Edson, a man with deep-set eyes and graying hair that showed the passage of time, was sitting in an aged leather armchair in the living room. In front of him, a grand piano gleamed under the soft afternoon light, while gentle notes of a nostalgic melody floated through the space. He gazed at an old photo of Clara, his deceased wife, who smiled with a sparkle in her eyes that still seemed to illuminate the room. "How I miss you, Clara," Edson murmured, caressing the framed portrait. The photo captured a happy moment, with her wearing a floral dress and her hair flowing in the wind. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the memories flood his mind. Her laughter, the way she danced around the house, always full of life and color. But all of that was now just an echo of a past he tried to keep alive. After a long day of reflections, Edson decided to go out to clear his mind. He grabbed his phone and, with a tap, called for an Uber. The wait felt endless as he lost himself in thoughts about how life had changed since Clara's departure. When the car finally arrived, he got in, still absorbed in his memories. The driver, Agatha Monroe, turned to him with a friendly smile that made Edson's heart race. It was the resemblance to Clara that surprised him right away. Her reddish-brown hair, bright eyes, and a smile lit up by vibrant energy were almost a reflection of what he had lost. "Hello. Where are we headed?" Agatha asked as she navigated the streets of Charleston. "Hello. To downtown, please," Edson replied, still trying to process the strange connection he felt. "Are you from Charleston?" "Yes. I was born and raised here. And you?" "I'm from here too, but I've been spending more time at home since I lost my wife," Edson said, hesitating as he shared his pain. It wasn't something he usually discussed with strangers, but Agatha's presence seemed to awaken old emotions. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." "It must be hard," she replied empathetically, her eyes meeting his in the rearview mirror. "Sometimes, we just need a little time to get used to the absence." "That's true," Edson agreed, feeling comforted by her understanding. Clara always loved art. She had an incredible talent. "Art? What kind of art?" Agatha asked, interested. "She was a painter. She dreamed of opening a gallery one day," Edson revealed, his heart tightening as he remembered the projects that never came to fruition. Unfortunately, life had other plans. As the conversation flowed, Edson felt increasingly drawn to the young woman. He hesitated to share his suspicions, but curiosity urged him on. Upon arriving at their destination, he decided to ask something that was troubling him. "What's your last name, if you don't mind?" "Monroe." "Agatha Monroe," she replied with a smile. The mention of the last name made Edson's heart race. It was the same last name as the woman he had deeply loved. "Monroe. It's a beautiful last name," he said, trying to hide his surprise. "It's a last name that carries a lot of history." "Thank you. It's a bit common around here, but it has its charm," Agatha replied, unaware of the depth of the connection forming between them. When Edson got out of the car, a mix of hope and confusion followed him. He turned to look at Agatha one last time, feeling an inexplicable connection. "See you later, Agatha." "See you later, Edson. Hope you have a great day," she replied as he walked away, her words echoing in his mind. A new journey was just beginning, and the past seemed closer than ever. Edson Parker sat in his dark leather armchair, his eyes lost in his thoughts. The mansion, adorned with works of art and photos of Clara, seemed to echo her presence in every corner. The feeling of loss was still palpable, but somehow, the recent interaction with Agatha Monroe had rekindled a spark of curiosity in his heart. He couldn't stop thinking about the striking resemblance the driver had to his deceased wife. That woman, with her long wavy hair and gentle smile, seemed a living reminiscence, as if Clara were back, by his side. Determined to understand this inexplicable connection, Edson decided he needed to know more about Agatha. The next day, he contacted a private investigator, a middle-aged man named Frank, known for his discretion and efficiency. They met at a discreet cafe where Edson, nervous, began to explain the situation. "Frank, I don't know how to express this, but I met a woman who looks like my wife. Clara passed away a few years ago, and this driver, she reminded me so much of her," Edson said, his voice trembling as he stirred his cup of coffee. Frank, with an attentive look, noted every word. "I understand. Do you want me to find out more about this woman? Her name is Agatha Monroe?" "Yes, I would like to know everything I can about her. Where she lives, who her family is, what she does for a living, everything," Edson replied, feeling a mix of anxiety and hope. "Let me take care of that." "You will receive a complete report soon," Frank assured, watching Edson with an understanding look. "But remember, the answers are not always easy to handle." Meanwhile, in a small apartment in one of the quieter areas of Charleston, Agatha Monroe was in a state of reflection. The place was modest but decorated with a peculiar taste that reflected her vibrant personality. On one of the shelves, a dusty box caught her attention. Curious, she approached and opened it, revealing old letters from her adoptive mother, Martha. As she pulled out one of the letters, the name Clara Monroe jumped out at her. "Clara, who are you?" Agatha murmured to herself as she began to read. The words, written in delicate handwriting, spoke of a woman full of dreams and desires, who had always wanted to meet her daughter. Agatha felt her heart tighten as she read about Clara's pain at being separated from her child. I didn't know there was someone out there," she said, her voice thick with emotion. The letters revealed a deep love, a bond that Clara maintained even from a distance. With each line, Agatha felt a piece of her identity being revealed, and a wave of emotions washed over her. "I need to know more," Agatha decided, rising with determination. The past she had never known was beginning to unfold before her eyes, and her connection to Clara felt stronger with each passing moment. In a mix of anxiety and hope, Edson eagerly awaited Frank's return. He felt like an explorer in search of hidden treasures. Each new piece of information about Agatha could be the key to unraveling the mystery of his wife's life. The phone rang, and he quickly answered. "Edson, it's Frank. I have some information about Agatha. Can we meet to discuss?" The detective's voice came through the line. "Of course. Where and when?" Edson asked, his heart racing with the anticipation of what was to come. "How about my office? Tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. I have some discoveries that may surprise you," Frank replied, and the conversation ended. Edson's mind was restless, blending the pain of loss with the hope of a new connection. He knew that the revelations to come could change everything. Meanwhile, in her small apartment, Agatha decided that she wouldn't be able to rest until she uncovered the truth about her origins, determined to unveil the secrets her adoptive mother had kept for so long. Edson Parker was sitting at a table in a charming cafe in downtown Charleston, the aroma of fresh coffee in the air and the soft sound of conversations around him. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating the faces of the customers and creating a cozy atmosphere. Despite the pleasant ambiance, his mind was distant, haunted by memories of Clara, his late wife. Since he encountered Agatha, the driver who reminded him so much of her, a seed of hope and confusion had sprouted in his heart. He anxiously watched the cafe door, waiting for Mary, an old friend of Clara's. When she entered, with her graying hair and warm smile, Edson immediately stood up to greet her. "Mary, long time no see," he said, enveloping her in a tight hug. "Edson, you still look the same, though I've noticed a few signs of time on you," Mary joked, with a loving glance. "We should sit down and catch up." As soon as they settled in, Edson couldn't help but share his concerns. "Mary, I met a woman recently, an Uber driver named Agatha. She looks so much like Clara. It's like I'm seeing a ghost." Mary frowned, intrigued. Really? That's surprising. What do you intend to do with that? I don't know. I keep wondering if there's a connection between them. It may sound crazy, but I feel like I need to investigate, Edson replied, his voice heavy with emotion. Mary looked into his eyes, sensing the depth of his pain and hope. Clara always had a dream, remember? She wanted to be an artist, to open an art gallery. She always talked about it with such love. Yes, I remember. She spoke about colors, shapes. She wanted her works to tell a story, Edson said, thoughtful. That's why I'm so intrigued by Agatha. What if she's part of Clara's story? Maybe you should reach out to her, find out more. Sometimes, life gives us clues we need to follow, Mary suggested, encouraging him. The conversation flowed, and Edson let himself be swept away by memories of Clara, recalling how she always encouraged him to follow his instincts. By the end of their meeting, he felt more determined, a new purpose being born within him. After saying goodbye to Mary, Edson walked the streets of Charleston, reliving memories of his wife. He remembered the nights Clara took him to art galleries, where her passion for artistic expression shone. Now, with this new connection to Agatha, he felt as if he were at a crossroads of destinies, where the past and present intertwined. Faced with the need to get closer to Agatha, he decided he needed to understand more about her. And as he walked, his mind began to formulate a plan. Deep down, Edson knew that this journey was not just about uncovering the truth, but also about honoring Clara's memory and the love that had always existed between them. Later, he recalled the phrase Clara always used to say, "Art is the language of the heart." With this idea reverberating in his mind, Edson decided he needed to share his memories and feelings, not only with Agatha but also with the world. Thus, the search for answers became a journey of reconnection, not only with the past but also with a future that could be shaped by creativity and passion. He was determined to approach Agatha, not just as a man in search of answers, but as someone who wanted to honor the legacy of his beloved wife. The idea of creating something together, something that could bring forth Clara's essence, filled him with a renewed sense of hope. Edson Parker was nervous as he approached Agatha Monroe, the driver who, by a twist of fate, seemed like an echo of the past, a reflection of his late wife, Clara. He had spent the week pondering the coincidences and the growing connection he felt with her. The sun was beginning to set in Battery Park, creating a stunning backdrop around him, with the shadows of the trees dancing in the golden light. Taking a deep breath, he decided that this was the right moment to open up. "Hi, Agatha," Edson greeted, a nervous smile on his lips. "Would you like to take a walk around here? The park is beautiful at sunset." Agatha, who was sitting on one of the park benches, looked up, surprised by the approach. There was something in the way Edson looked at her that made her feel special, as if he saw beyond the surface. "Of course, I'd love to," she replied, standing up and fixing her hair. As they walked, Edson searched for words that could convey what he felt. The aroma of the flowers and the gentle sound of the waves in the background created a magical atmosphere, conducive to confessions. "You know, Agatha," he began, hesitating a little, "since I met you, I can't stop thinking about Clara. She had a special way of seeing the world, just like you." Agatha suddenly stopped, looking at him with a mix of curiosity and confusion. "Clara?" she asked, her eyes shining with interest. "You talk about her as if she were someone very important in your life." Edson nodded, feeling the emotion rise to the surface. "She was my wife." His voice trembled a bit. In the last years of her life, Clara dreamed of opening an art gallery. She always said that art had the power to connect people, to tell stories that words couldn't. Agatha's heart began to race. Something in the way Edson spoke about Clara touched her deeply, as if each word was an invisible thread connecting their destinies. "That's beautiful," she said, trying to hide the emotion that was beginning to form. "What happened to her?" Edson hesitated, the pain of the loss still fresh in his memory. "Clara passed away a few years ago. I miss her every day." He looked toward the horizon, searching for courage. "I can't help but feel that, in some way, you are a part of her." Agatha felt a chill in her stomach. The connection she felt with Edson was inexplicable, but she didn't quite understand why. "I don't know what to say," she replied, a bit dazed. "It's strange, but I feel a connection too." Edson smiled, relieved that she hadn't pulled away. Have you ever had the feeling of knowing someone before you actually knew them? He asked, seeking understanding. Yes, I have, Agatha reflected, looking down at the ground. It's as if there's something familiar, even though I don't know what it is. They continued walking. The enveloping silence between them was comfortable. Edson finally decided it was time to reveal his desire to get closer to Agatha. I would like to get to know you better, Agatha, he said, stopping to face her. Would you mind telling me a little about yourself? She hesitated, but the sincerity in Edson's eyes encouraged her. Well, I work as an Uber driver and, she began, but before she could continue, Edson interrupted her. And what else? His voice was soft, almost a whisper. I actually like art. I've always enjoyed drawing, but I've never had the courage to truly dedicate myself to it. Agatha smiled slightly, a bit embarrassed. Who knows, maybe one day, right? Edson remembered Clara's words and how she always encouraged her to follow her dreams. The desire to help Agatha find her own artistic voice blossomed within him. I would love to see your drawings one day, Edson said, sprosed with a sparkle in his eyes. Maybe, if you want, we can create something together in the future. Agatha smiled, warmth rising in her chest. And I would love that, Edson, she replied, feeling that this conversation was just beginning to unveil the mysteries of their intertwined lives. As the sun set, the connection between them grew stronger, as if fate was intertwining their stories in ways neither of them could imagine. Agatha was sitting at the kitchen table in her small apartment, surrounded by old letters she had found. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, creating a play of shadows and light that danced around her. The words of her adoptive mother, Martha, echoed in her mind, like a distant whisper. Curiosity consumed her, and the restlessness drove her to seek answers that seemed to linger in the lines of those dusty letters. With a deep sigh, she decided it was time to confront Martha. After a quick shower and a change of clothes, Agatha mentally prepared herself for the conversation she was about to have. Her heart raced in her chest, and the uncertainty made her nervous. What did she really want to know? Who was Clara Monroe, the woman mentioned in the letters, and what was her true connection to her? When she finally arrived in the living room, she found Martha sitting on the sofa, a cup of tea in her hands. The woman looked at Agatha, her gaze reflecting a mix of love and concern, as if she knew that her adoptive daughter was about to ask a question that could change everything. Mom, can I ask you something? Agatha began, her voice trembling but determined. Of course, dear. What's on your mind? Martha replied with an encouraging smile. But the smile quickly faded when she saw Agatha's serious expression. I found some old letters, and they mention a woman named Clara Monroe. Who was she? What do you know about her? The question came out in a rush, barely allowing Martha to breathe. Hesitant, Martha placed her teacup on the table. She looked out the window, as if searching for words in the blue sky. Clara, she began. She was an artist, a woman full of dreams and passion. Her life was marked by many hardships, but she had a huge heart. Agatha felt a lump form in her throat. But why did you never talk about her? I feel like there's something more. That she wasn't just an acquaintance. Martha sighed, her expression turning somber. Because Clara was your mother, Agatha. She always wanted to know about you, but life's circumstances prevented her from being with you. Martha's words hit Agatha like a punch in the stomach. My mother, Clara, did she really love me? Tears began to slide down her face. Yes, my dear. She loved you deeply, even though she couldn't raise you. The decision to give you up for adoption was the hardest of her life. She wanted to ensure you had a better life, away from the hardships she faced. Martha's gaze was filled with pain and compassion. Agatha felt her world crumble. Everything she had thought about her origins, about her life, now seemed to have a new meaning. Why didn't you tell me this before? I always felt so lost, so disconnected. Often, the truths are hard to say, my daughter. I wanted to protect you from suffering, but maybe I made a mistake by not sharing this part of your story with you. Martha took Agatha's hand, holding it firmly. Clara always wanted you to know that she loved you. She fought for you to have a better future. With a heavy heart, Agatha began to understand the depth of her biological mother's love. She felt an immense emptiness mixed with a new kind of hope. I wish I could have known her. To have had the chance to thank her for everything? Martha nodded, her eyes filled with tears. I know, dear, and I promise I will do what I can to help you learn more about Clara. You deserve to know the truth about your roots. After a moment of silence, Agatha stood up. She felt stronger, more determined. I want to know more about her, about who I am. I want to understand where I come from. The desire to reconnect with her history pulsed within her. With a faint smile, Martha took out an old box that had been stored in the living room cabinet. Here are some things that belong to Clara. Maybe this will help you understand better who she was. The box was filled with photos, clippings, and even a diary. As Agatha opened the box, a feeling of emotion enveloped her. Each object seemed to tell a story, and she was determined to discover everything about the woman who, in some way, was still a part of her. Edson Parker sat in his office, a room illuminated by the soft light of the late afternoon filtering through the linen curtains. The fresh breeze coming through the window brought with it the salty scent of the sea, a constant reminder of the beauty of Charleston. However, at that moment, his mind was far from the tranquility the city offered. He held in his hands Clara's diary, his late wife, and the yellowed pages seemed to pulse with the life she once had. Each word Edson read made his heart race. Clara always had a burning passion for art, a desire to share her vision with the world. I dream of opening an art gallery one day, he read in one of the entries. A place where beauty and emotion can meet, and where people's stories can be told through each work. Her words reverberated in his mind, igniting a flame of determination. Why can't I realize this dream in her honor? Edson murmured to himself, imagining the possibility of bringing to life what Clara always desired. He abruptly stood up, feeling a wave of energy coursing through his body. The idea of creating a gallery was not just a tribute, it was a way to keep Clara alive in his heart and in the memory of all who knew her. With a new purpose, Edson decided he needed to share this idea with Agatha. He felt there was a special connection between them, a bond that transcended time and space. Her resemblance to Clara was striking, but there was something deeper that drew him in. She needs to know the importance Clara had for me, he thought. The next day, Edson invited Agatha to lunch at a charming seaside bistro. He was nervous, but the anticipation of sharing his idea kept him excited. When she arrived, the sunlight illuminated her face, causing her bright eyes to reflect the curiosity and liveliness he always admired. Hi, Edson. What a beautiful place you chose, Agatha said as she sat down at the table. Thank you, Agatha. I thought it would be a good setting for us to talk, he replied, smiling nervously. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something important. Sure. What is it? She leaned forward, interested. Edson took a deep breath. I was reading my wife Clara's diary, and I discovered that she always dreamed of opening an art gallery, and I would like to realize that dream, but I don't want to do it alone. I want you to be part of it. Agatha's eyes widened, and a silence hung between them as the gravity of the proposal settled in. You want me to help open an art gallery? She seemed stunned, but at the same time, a spark of enthusiasm began to shine in her gaze. Yes, you have an incredible talent and an artistic sensitivity that reminds me of Clara. I feel that together we can create a space that not only honors her memory, but also connects people to art in a meaningful way, Edson said, his enthusiasm growing. Agatha smiled shyly, her heart racing at the idea. This is amazing, Edson. But what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't honor her legacy? You don't need to worry about that. What matters is the passion and the willingness to create something beautiful. Clara always believed in the importance of art in people's lives, and I believe you can bring that vision to life, Edson replied, his voice full of conviction. Agatha felt a wave of emotion. It was as if by accepting this challenge, she was finally connecting with something she had always sought, a part of herself that had been absent. I would love to do this, Edson. Let's honor Clara together. From that moment on, a new energy filled the air between them. With smiles lighting their faces, Edson and Agatha began to discuss ideas, plans, and dreams. Each exchanged word seemed to build a stronger bond, a connection that promised not only to revive Clara's memory, but also to transform their lives in ways they could not yet imagine. The sun was beginning to set over Charleston, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, as Edson Parker prepared for a moment that could change his life and Agatha Monroe's forever. He sat at a cafe table, nervous, hands clasped, watching the bustling city pulse around him. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, but his mind was distant, immersed in the idea of turning Clara's dream into reality. When Agatha entered, her smile lit up the room and made Edson forget, for a brief moment, the pain of loss. He stood up, pulling out a chair for her to sit. "Hi, Edson. What did you want to tell me?" she asked, curious, as she settled in. Edson took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Agatha, I've been thinking a lot about you and Clara. The connection we feel seems like, well, it seems like there is something bigger between us." She tilted her head, intrigued. "Bigger? What do you mean?" He hesitated but decided to be honest. "When I first saw you, it was like looking at a ghost, not just because of your appearance, but because of the way you speak and express yourself. Do you remember the story I told about Clara's artistic dreams?" "Yes, you mentioned she wanted to open an art gallery, but why is that important now?" Agatha replied, with an inquisitive look. "Because I want to turn that dream into reality. I want to open the gallery, but I can't do it alone, and I would like you to lead this project with me." The proposal hung in the air, and Edson felt the weight of the words he had just spoken. Agatha's eyes widened, and she brought her hand to her mouth in a gesture of surprise. "Are you serious? I would love to do this. But why did you choose me?" "Because you are the only one who can bring this gallery to life with Clara's true essence. You are the bridge between the past and the present, between her dream and the reality we can create together," Edson said, his voice full of emotion. "I want this gallery to be not just a tribute but a place of experience, of expression, a space where people can feel art the way Clara always wanted." Agatha felt a wave of emotion wash over her. "I never knew much about my biological mother, but at the same time, I feel Clara is here with me in everything I'm doing. This gallery would be a way to honor her memory and also to discover myself." "Exactly. Together, we can build something special. A place that represents not only her art but also your own journey," Edson encouraged, watching the passion grow in her eyes. "So, what do we need to do to get started?" Agatha asked, now fully engaged in the idea. "We need to find a space, something that reflects the soul of the city and the art Clara loved. And of course, we need to gather her works and start planning the curation," Edson explained, feeling a wave of hope. "And can I help with the curation? Can I research her works and how we can present them in a way that tells her story?" Agatha offered, already imagining how she could contribute to the project. "Yes, that would be amazing. I want you to have the freedom to bring your ideas and vision. Let's work together side by side to make this happen," Edson replied, already visualizing the vibrant space they could create. As the conversation flowed, their enthusiasm grew. They began to discuss details, exchange ideas, and even sketch out a plan of action. The connection that had once been based on pain and loss was now transforming into hope and creativity. "I'm so excited about this, Edson. I never thought I could feel this way about my mother," Agatha said, a sparkle in her eyes. "This project is more than just a gallery. It's an opportunity to understand who I am." Edson smiled, feeling warmth in his heart. "And I'm here to support you every step of the way. Let's honor Clara and, at the same time, rediscover our own stories." With that, they stood up, ready to face the future, determined to create a gallery that not only celebrated Clara's art, but also united their lives in a way they never imagined possible. The preparations for the gallery's opening were in full swing, and the atmosphere in the small room that Edson and Agatha used as an office was charged with expectations and emotions. The walls, once bare, were now adorned with sketches and photos of Clara's artwork, which seemed to come to life as the big day approached. Agatha was carefully organizing the images on a table, her heart racing as she remembered the stories Edson had shared about his biological mother. "You think Clara would be happy with all this?" Agatha asked, looking at Edson with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Definitely," Edson replied, a soft smile on his lips. "She always dreamed of having a space where she could express her art, and besides, she would love to see you getting so involved in this project. You are a part of her, Agatha." With a sparkle in her eyes, Agatha felt the connection between them deepen. It was as if every story Edson told helped fill in the gaps of her own identity. But at the same time, the emotional challenges began to weigh on her shoulders. I wish I had known my mother. To know what it was like to see her smile, to hear her voice, Agatha said, her vulnerability shining through her words. Edson tilted his head, understanding the depth of what she felt. I can't imagine the pain of that. But in a way, you're getting to know her now. Through the art, the letters, the journal, every piece we find is a window into who she was. Agatha took a deep breath, trying to absorb Edson's words. You're right. It's as if she is communicating with me through all of this. But at the same time, I feel an emptiness, as if it will never be completely filled. I understand, Edson said, his gaze warm and understanding. But you're not alone. We're in this together. We can honor her memory and make her legacy live on. That's part of what we're doing here. As she organized the photos, Agatha remembered the journal she had found, filled with Clara's accounts, dreams, and longings. Have you read her journal? She asked hesitantly. Yes, some parts. It's amazing how she wrote about her passions, her fears, and her hopes. Every page is a discovery, Edson replied, his tone full of reverence. I would love to read it too. Maybe it will help me understand better who she was and how I fit into the picture, Agatha said, her curiosity growing. Of course, we can read it together. What do you think about doing that tonight after work? Edson suggested, a spark of enthusiasm in his eyes. I would love that. It would be nice to feel that connection with her, Agatha replied, a shy smile appearing on her face. The hours passed quickly, and as the sun began to set, the room was bathed in a golden hue. Edson and Agatha were immersed in their tasks, but the atmosphere of intimacy and understanding between them continued to grow. When night finally came, they sat together in a cozy corner of the room, with Clara's journal open between them. As Edson began to read aloud, the words seemed to dance in the air, bringing Clara back to life with each account. Today, I dreamed I was in a gallery full of light and colors. People admired my works, but the most important thing was the sense of belonging I felt there, Edson read, his voice thick with emotion. Agatha listened intently, feeling every word resonate in her heart. It's as if she is speaking directly to me, she said, her eyes shining. I feel like I am finally starting to understand who I am and where I come from. Exactly. And this is just the beginning. You are connecting with her in a way that no one else can, Edson replied, looking into Agatha's eyes with sincerity. And so, as the pages of the journal were turned, both found comfort and strength, reflecting on Clara's life and the impact she still had on their lives. The gallery was not just a space. It was a testament to the love, art, and search for identity that united them in a way they had never imagined. The gallery was filled with light and life, reflecting Clara's vibrant essence. The white walls, now adorned with her works, seemed to tell stories of love, pain, and overcoming. Friends, family, and admirers gathered, all eager to celebrate the opening of that space that symbolized not only art, but also the reconnection between Edson and Agatha. Edson was nervous, but his determination was palpable. He watched the crowd, feeling the weight of expectation on his shoulders. By his side, Agatha, in an elegant dress that highlighted her resemblance to Clara, smiled, encouraging him. You are ready, Edson. It's your turn to speak, she said softly. He took a deep breath, adjusted his tie, and approached the small stage that had been set up for the occasion. The soft light from the spotlights illuminated his face, and he felt overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. Good evening, everyone, he began, his voice softly echoing in the space. Today, we are not just here to celebrate the opening of a gallery. We are here to celebrate the life of an extraordinary woman, Clara Monroe. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on Edson. He continued, Clara was not just an artist. She was a dreamer. Since the day I met her, I have always admired her ability to see beauty where many saw only banality. Every brushstroke on her canvases was a reflection of her soul. And today, as we look at these works, we can feel her presence among us. A murmur of agreement swept through the room, and Edson noticed some familiar faces, moved. He remembered the first time he met Clara, her radiant smile, and how she always believed that art could bring people together. For me, art is a link that transcends time. It is a form of love that never dies. And that is why, when opening this gallery, I am honoring not only Clara's memory, but also the connection she always wanted to establish between people. He paused, looking at Agatha, who was beside him, her eyes shining. And this is where our story intertwines. Agatha, you have brought back a part of Clara that I thought I had lost forever. Your presence here today is a reminder that love can manifest in unexpected ways. Agatha, emotional, felt her heart race. She raised her hand slightly, as if she wanted to interrupt, but Edson continued. When I met Agatha, I couldn't help but notice the connection between her and Clara. And throughout this project, I realized that Clara's art is not just an expression of her life, but also a legacy that now unites us all. After the speech, Edson smiled and gestured toward the gallery. I invite all of you to explore the works and feel the energy that Clara left in this space. May each painting, each sculpture, be an open door to your memories, your stories, and your feelings. People began to move, observing the works attentively. Agatha, who had remained silent, finally felt comfortable to speak. She turned to Edson, her heart overflowing with gratitude. Thank you, Edson, for all of this. It's like I'm finally finding a piece of myself. He smiled at her, his eyes full of understanding. Clara always wanted you to know how much she loved you, even from afar. Edson's words touched Agatha deeply. She looked around, seeing people admiring her biological mother's works. I never thought I could feel so connected to her, to a place I never knew. It's like each painting is hugging me, she said, with a shy smile. Edson nodded, feeling that together they were fulfilling Clara's dream. And I promise we will do this together. This gallery is just the beginning. We will honor Clara's memory, not just with art, but with love and unity. The atmosphere was filled with positive vibes, and as Edson and Agatha looked at each other, a new journey unfolded before them, marked by overcoming and hope. The atmosphere was charged with emotion on the day of the gallery's opening in Charleston. The soft afternoon light illuminated the space, where Clara's works adorned the walls. Friends and family gathered, chatting animatedly about the artist's life and legacy. Edson, standing at the center, observed the people moving, feeling a mix of joy and nostalgia. He was sure Clara was there, somehow, smiling at it all. As the murmur of the crowd echoed around, the door opened, and a familiar figure entered. It was Martha, Agatha's adoptive mother, with a nervous and hesitant look. She hesitated at the entrance, absorbing the scene before her, before being spotted by Agatha. The young woman ran to her mother, a mix of joy and confusion on her face. "Mom, you came!" Agatha exclaimed, wrapping Martha in a tight hug. Martha, visibly moved, returned the embrace. "I couldn't miss this, dear. It's so wonderful to see all of this." Edson approached, sensing the tension in the air. "Martha, I'm so glad you came. This day is special for all of us." Martha nodded, but her gaze was distant. "I have something to say, something I should have said a long time ago." Before Edson could ask, the crowd began to calm down, and he took the microphone in hand. "I thank you all for being here today to celebrate Clara's life and art. She always believed that art has the power to connect us, to tell stories that often remain hidden, and that's what we're doing here, not just celebrating Clara, but also what she represents to us." Applause echoed through the gallery, but Edson's eyes were fixed on Martha, who seemed increasingly apprehensive. He knew there was something more in that fast-beating heart. I need to speak," Martha said, finally standing up. She looked at Agatha, who watched her with anticipation. Clara had dreams that were never fulfilled. She always wanted you to know, Agatha, that she loved you deeply, even though she couldn't raise you. Whispers began to circulate among the guests. Edson fell silent, feeling the emotional weight of the revelation. Agatha, with tears in her eyes, asked, "Mom, why didn't you tell me this before?" Martha took a deep breath, the words heavy in her mouth. I I was afraid. Afraid that you would feel rejected. Clara was such an important part of my life, but I never knew how to share that with you. She wasn't just an artist, Martha continued, her voice stronger. She was a mother who dreamed of meeting you, and I kept that to myself, as a secret that should have been shared. Tears streamed down Agatha's face as she absorbed every word. So everything I found, the letters, the diary, was it true? She really cared about me. Yes, dear, Martha confirmed, her voice breaking. She always cared, even when she wasn't by your side. And now, seeing you here with Edson, I see Clara alive in you. You are her continuation. Edson, touched by the revelation, stepped forward. Agatha, you don't have to carry this burden alone. Clara may be physically absent, but her love and legacy live on in you and in the gallery we are creating together. I promise to honor my mother's memory, Agatha said, her voice firm and determined. She lives in me, and now, with your help, I can do this. The mood in the gallery shifted, now filled with hope and reconciliation. The past could not be changed, but the future was open. In the heart of the gallery, Edson, Agatha, and Martha came together in an embrace, sealing the emotional journey each had faced. Edson suggested they continue telling Clara's story together, looking into the eyes of both women. Agatha confirmed, a smile blossoming on her face. Together, we can do this. And so, with Clara's artistic legacy now intertwined in the lives of Edson, Agatha, and Martha, the gallery was not just a tribute, but a symbol of overcoming and transformation. The walls were filled with art, but more importantly, they were filled with love. Now that you have reached the end of this touching story, we want to know, what moment touched your heart the most or left you speechless? Leave it in the comments because your opinion is very important to us. Share this story with someone you know will be moved, because stories like this deserve to be spread. And if you love narratives that inspire and bring reflections on life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive more content like this. Stories that touch the soul and connect us to each other. We look forward to seeing your comments and your participation. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next exciting video. Until then,